Hello and welcome to episode 249 of my podcast all about knitting and crochet and my yarn shop here in Wiesbaden, Germany. I'm Kiko and today is October 21st, 2024. And today I've dressed up a little bit. I usually wear my knits in everyday life, so that's how I usually dress on my videos. But today when I was thinking of how to wear this pullover, I thought I could wear this white blouse that I usually wear for more special occasions or festive occasions. And then I decided to wear the Vortex shawl with it, which is also fairly special. This is a circular shawl. It's a free pattern on Ravelry called Vortex. And the pattern name is because of the spiral, the way the increases are done. They create a beautiful spiral in the middle of the shawl. And then if you knit the pattern as it's written, after you finish the spiral, there's a lace pattern. I think it's a fairly simple one with many holes, but I didn't want to knit that. So I decided to use a knitted on lace edge that I'd done for a scarf and decided to knit this on this shawl. The idea was not bad, but it took me forever to finish it. I also decided to put a little bead into every edge stitch, and also something that I'm very happy with, but also a reason this shawl took forever to finish. Now, the way I wore it just now is just folding it in half, and then I have like a half circle shawl, and it's quite big, so I can wear this over my shoulders like this and have all of my back covered. And I have a double layer. This is a very thin cotton yarn that my sister bought in Japan. I don't know anything about the yarn except that it was pure cotton and it was 200 grams. I didn't use all of it, and I have no idea what the yardage is. There was no needle recommended, so I just had to decide what to do. Now, another thing that I can do with this, I can scrunch it together and wear it as a scarf. That's also a possibility. But especially when dressing up, one thing that I really like is if I don't fold it in half, but just fold part of it in like this. And then if I wear it round my shoulders, it's very dramatic and long. Now it's still big enough to cover my arms, but it now goes down almost to my knees. And then the pattern is also, I think you can see more of the spiral in the back. So I think it's a fairly versatile piece that I really like. And the pullover I'm wearing, it's called Leya. The pattern is called Leya. It's out of a Rowan booklet that was with patterns for this yarn. It's the Rowan Kit Silk Haze, I think, color, something like that. I'm not quite sure, but I actually knit the pattern as it was written in the same color as in the booklet. I usually change colors, but this time I really liked the way this looked, and I bought the exact same yarn for the project, and it's knit sideways. It's a fairly simple construction. It's a mohair silk yarn. I love mohair yarn, you probably know that. So I'm really happy with this pullover, and so I'm dressed up a bit different than usual. And there's another funny fact that I realized when I prepared for this video is that I knew that the Vortex, that the shawl, took me forever because I just put it down a lot as well. So after I started knitting, after I started knitting the lace edge, it took me a long time to pick it up again, and then I would knit a bit on it and then I put it down again. And so my Ravelry page says I started the project July 15th, 2013, so that's 11 years ago, and I finished it August 13th, 2022. So I finished it 2 years ago. So it was part of the video of my podcast as I finished it, but not as I started it. But then the pullover, I thought I didn't remember that took me a long time as well. I thought I might have been a bit quicker with that, but I started that January 1st, 2013, so the same year that I started the shawl, but I actually finished the pullover in March 2016. So 3 years, it's a long time for a small pullover like this. But eventually I get the things done, and now I can wear them for many, many more years than it took me to make them. Okay, so much to what I'm wearing. Then on to finished objects. I have one finished object today, and that's the Witch's Brew Halloween Mystery Knit Along by Stephanie Lotvin, also known as Telly Bean Knits. And I think the last clue came out on the 13th, so it shouldn't be a mystery anymore. So I'll show it now. If you want to look away, you can, but this is the finished cowl, but it has not been washed and blocked yet. So you've already seen those motifs, and I think now I can talk about them. So this is the witch's hat. This is the witch's cat with a few bats in between. I really like those little details. Then we have stars and moons. This is the love potion. This is the poison. And these are the glass thingies to tell the future. Not quite sure what they're called in English anyway. And these are the cauldrons to brew the potions in. So we have some flames coming out of the cauldrons. And then there's the ribbing. I didn't have that last week, I think. So that's fairly simple. It's a broken rib pattern, and we can add fringes if we want to. And the plan is to just put the fringes where there's one knit stitch and not where there are two knit stitches. And these can either be considered brooms. If you put a fringe on it, then it looks like a broom, or by itself it can look like a wand. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, really happy with it. It's quite bright and colorful, but that's my color choice. I like the motifs. I think they work really well with Halloween. Just if you're curious, these are my floats, and I have woven in all the ends, but I haven't cut them off yet. So that's what I usually do. I weave in the ends before I wash my projects, and then after I wash and block everything, I cut them off. So I'm not going to block this very severely because it's not a lace pattern or anything, but I might just pull it a little bit sideways. That's what she suggests in the pattern, just to make sure that it's wide enough when worn, but I don't want to pull it too much so that I don't want the motifs to be distorted. So I just very gently pull it and then let it dry that way. And then next week, I show you what it looks like after it's been washed and blocked, and I will wear it and then you can see it on me. I'm already thinking about which pullover to wear it with. And I actually have several pullovers that I think it should work with. So yeah, that should be interesting. You'll see that next week. Now, on to works in progress. I have actually knit on all the socks that I have on the go. So I think the oldest is the Surprise Sockalong by Stephen West, another mystery knit along that I took. Oh no, before I talk about that, I forgot something. So I only have one finished object, but I have finished a few little things that don't really get a project page, so they're not officially finished objects, but I thought I made them last week, so I'll show you. The first thing are two tiny, tiny hats. So I usually do not knit for other people. I don't do requests, but this was a customer who came in and she was looking for tiny little hats for two of her dolls. So I think these were her children's dolls, and she said they needed hats because the weather is turning cold. And yeah, I let her talk me into knitting these. So I just grabbed my leftover sock yarn, I let her choose two colors, and I knit these tiny little hats. And I hope they fit, but I think they should. Now, the other thing is a bit more interesting, but less useful in a way. I was given this what's it called? Weaving frame, maybe. I was given that from someone, and she said maybe she didn't want it anymore, and she said maybe I could make some use of it. And so I tried to weave on it, and it was very popular with the children who were here last week. So it's a good thing. I'm very happy to have it. So this was my first try with 4-ply sock yarn, and this is actually the same ball of yarn. And I got two completely different, because you only need very little yarn if you use the 4-ply sock yarn, the sock weight yarn. And then I did one with 6-ply sock yarn. So this is the yarn that I'm using for the baby surprise jacket. And interestingly enough, there's no red in here. I did not use enough yarn to get to the red, which I thought was really interesting. And then I used some 8-ply sock yarn. This was again some leftover yarn that I had in my stash. And this is the densest, the thickest in a way. So this one you can look through, and this takes less than 2 grams. The 6-ply took more than 2 grams, and this takes a little more than 3 grams of yarn. It's so funny. So far I haven't really planned on making a big project. I'm just using these as coasters to put a glass or a cup on, or a mug. But it was just fun to try these out, and if you do several of these, you have these scallops that you can sew them together with, and you can make scarves or shawls or a light poncho or a table mat or things like that. So I thought that was very interesting, and I haven't hardly any experience with weaving, but always thought it sounds interesting. And I probably wouldn't have bought this kind of thing, but now that I got it for free, I enjoyed using it. Yeah, so that was another tiny little finished object. But then onto the socks. The first sock, I think the oldest sock on my needle, I didn't check, but I took part in the surprise Sockalong by Stephen West, his mystery knit along for socks, and I knit the first sock except for the toe, and I finally started the second sock. So the cuff is knit sideways, so I did a provisional cast on. Then at first I knit this wavy pattern, then I knit this pattern, and now I'm starting to use the contrast colors, and I would want to talk to my sister about changing the direction of the colors for the second sock or not. So I stopped here, but I hope to keep going with these socks so they will get done at some point. And the same is true for the Bellflower socks. That was a bonus pattern in this year's Sock Madness, and I'm knitting the socks out of a Rainforest colorway by Opal. I finished the first sock, and I finally continued on the second sock. So I now finished the first Bellflower, and I just started the next one. So you can see a few holes here. So it always starts off with a lot of holes, and then they decrease. And I think I have to knit another 10 rounds, and then I can start with the gusset increases because it's a toe up sock. And then see to it that that gets finished. And the third sock that's on my needle is the sock that I started, that I had as a new project last week. It's a 6-ply sock yarn by Opal. And it's a fairly simple sock, so I just I knit a 1x1 ribbing, then changed to knit 3 purl 1. I put in a short row heel, and now I've started the foot. So fairly simple, but I think the colors look nice, and yeah, still have a bit of time until Christmas. So I want to send them off for Christmas, so I have to finish sometime beginning of December. But I want to knit 2 pairs. So these are this is the first of his socks, and then I'll have to knit her socks. So I have to try and keep at it. I also need to start the next pair of shorty socks, because I decided to have both shorty socks with the neon accent as one project. So I have to cast. It's like a new project, but it's also part of an ongoing project. And I hope to start them this week. By the way, I forgot to have a new cast on. I didn't cast anything on last week, which I think was good, because I definitely do have to finish more than start things. But yeah, I was quite surprised at myself. So these are all the socks that I have on the go. Then the small projects out of sock yarn. I added a few rounds to the Cousteau hat out of the beautiful book Die Maschen und das Meer, The Stitches and the Ocean. And I have now finished 2 complete color repeats, and I'm into the next color repeat, and I think I have to add several more rounds before I can start the decreases, because it's supposed to be folded over like this. And yeah, so this is a 2-color brioche. I'm using 1 colorful opal yarn, and then I'm using the black sock yarn by Opal as the contrast color. And yeah, happy with how this is growing. And I did not continue knitting on the cat's mittens, but I continued knitting on the baby surprise jacket. This is another 6-ply sock yarn, another rainforest color, and this is what the cardigan looks like at the moment. So anyone who's knit a baby surprise jacket before knows that I've now knitted the 10 garter ridges that you only do in between the markers, and I'm now at the point where I have to pick up stitches on these edges, and I can go more or less straight into the button bands. So this should be finished fairly soon. Still very happy with the colorful, with the many colors. And now you can see that there's quite a bit of red in the yarn, but I needed so little yarn for this square that there's no red in here. Quite funny, I think. Okay, so these were the little projects out of sock yarn. Then on to my garments. I did not knit on the Mamaki dress, and but I did knit on the Vinahop pullover. And then the other projects I did not knit on are the Abloom scarf, my skirt, and the blankets. But the Vinahop pullover, another Nicolor pattern. I continued knitting on the sleeve, and I think last week I said that I had to try it on to make sure that the decreases weren't, that I wasn't decreasing too many stitches. And I think I said it during the video and then completely forgot about it and kept knitting. And then when I finally tried the pullover on, I decided that the sleeve was actually getting fairly tight. So I stopped. I didn't stop decreasing completely, but instead of decreasing every 6th round, I now changed to decreasing every 20th round, which means I now decrease at the beginning of every stockinette stitch band. Yeah, I'm not quite sure where I was at last week. I think I was in the stockinette stitch stripe here. I probably added this pattern and this pattern, and again, well, some patterns are more obvious than others, so I think these are quite easy to see. This works a little like a ribbing, so I think this is pulling in a bit. So I will probably block the sleeves once I finish the pullover. Yeah, but we'll see. So I'm decreasing less quickly, but still need quite a bit of a length, so still more to do. This is the fingering weight yarn by Hansa Farm, pure baby alpaca, and really enjoying knitting this and looking forward to having this pullover. Now on to the 2 shawls, or 3 shawls that I knit, 2 that I knit on and 1 that I crocheted on. I continued knitting on the Goff's Place mystery shawl, which isn't a mystery anymore. And I finished clue 4, but I did not finish the finishing touches that came after clue 4. So clue 4 was this piece, which is like a circle square. No, it's a 4th part of a circle. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, so I finished this this bit of this part of the shawl I did the I-cord bind off, and then we are supposed to pick up stitches and bind off with an I-cord on all the straight edges. So this side, and on the other side, we were supposed to pick up stitches on this edge, and then this edge already had stitches that were still lying there from clue 1. And as I had already said last week, I did not pick up stitches from this edge, so this edge does not have an I-cord. But it's dark blue, and I think it's a nice edge, and I think it's fine the way it is. So all I did was put the stitches that I had on hold for several months now back onto a needle. I did an I-cord bind off. And when I weave in the ends, I will make sure to have I will nicely close this up. And then on this side, there's also something to weave in, so I can try and make this part look nicely. And then the only thing that I need to do now is I will pick up stitches around this edge. I will pick up stitches at the edge of this square, and I will do an I-cord bind off. I will not pick up stitches here, the way is on the other side. And I'm not quite sure what to do about this. So this doesn't really look bad. It's fairly neat and nice. So I might leave it like this, but I might go ahead and pick up a few stitches, do a mini I-cord in dark blue to make sure I have a dark blue edge going round most of the shawl. So the rounded edge here, here's already it's not a built-in I-cord, but it kind of looks like an I-cord, but it's the same color as the wedges. And then I'll have a blue edge on this side. Then there's a blue edge on this end. Again, this edge is the colors of the wedges. And then on the bottom, I put the blue I-cord here, and this is already blue. And you can see this is such a huge shawl. Amazing. Yeah, but I still love it. It's also the fingering weight yarn by Hansa Farm, except for the pink, which is the alpaca silk yarn by Hansa Farm. Yeah, they don't have this kind of pink with the fingering weight yarn, I think, which is why I used the alpaca silk yarn. But it's the same weight, so it's no problem. Almost done. Really, really looking forward to getting this done. And the other rather big shawl that I'm working on is the Go Dynamo Mystery Knit-Along Shawl by Stephen West. And I actually did not finish clue 2. So I am lagging behind, but it's so much knitting, and I did want to work on the other projects as well. If I'd only concentrated on the shawl, I might have done it. But anyway, so I'm showing it now. I put it on a long cable this time, so I can show you the different pieces more clearly. So this was clue 1. We started with 3 of those round motifs, and then these garter stripe thingies were attached to the half circles, and then we already, I think, added the bubble pattern once, and then for clue 2, there was some rows of 2-color brioche. You could do a lace pattern there instead of the brioche if you didn't want to do brioche. But I decided to go for the 2-color brioche, and I decided to do a mohair there. So instead of using the contrast color, I used an orange mohair silk yarn. And then after that, there's another row of the bubble stitch. So there's again several rows of the contrast color, and then these dip stitches. And now I am knitting the second brioche pattern, and once I finish that, I have to add another bubble stitch pattern. So this bit gets done twice, And you can see there are a lot of stitches on my needle. So right now it looks more like a scarf than a shawl. It's fairly small, but really, really long. The third clue is going to go on all the stitches there are, but at the end of clue 3 we won't have any stitches at all. So it's a bit like last year when after clue 3 we were left without any stitches. Last year it was decreasing stitches to a point on both sides, and then we had a finished triangular or almost triangular shawl last year, and then the question was how to go on after that. And it's going to be the same here. So after clue 3 there won't be any stitches on the needle, and then we can guess which direction we will continue working and what kind of pattern he came up with. So far I'm really happy with my crazy colors. Clue 3 is also perfect, I think, for two variegated colorways like mine. A lot of people are choosing to use more colors for their clue 3 because it's just very inviting to use many colors. So I think it should be perfect for my colorways, and I'm really looking forward to knitting clue 3. But I have to get the work of clue 2 done. So I am pretty confident I can finish clue 2 this week, and I will definitely then start clue 3. I'm rather sure that I'm not going to finish clue 3 this week. It's just too much. Half of clue 2 plus clue 3 is too much for 1 week for me. So yeah, but I hope to be able to show you the beginning of clue 3 next week. And then this week, Thursday, we will find out what clue 4 looks like. Yeah, so that was Stephen West Mystery Shawl Knit Along this year with my two very colourful opal colorways. And that leads me to our crochet along, where we are crocheting spiral granny squares or spiral granny hexagons or spiral granny whatevers. And I almost finished the ball of yarn I was working with. So this is all I have left. That was a 100 Wasser colorway that I used, and I started the square with leftover yarns, and then I ran out of leftover yarns that sort of had those colors, so I decided to use this ball of yarn. And a very funny thing happened that the 3 rounds before the last, I just kept getting the same colors on top of each other. So I think I was at a stage where 1 round was exactly 1 repeat of the colorway, of the color. You know what I'm talking about. So the second time I crocheted the same color on top of the other color, I thought, oh, that's the moment. And I was pretty sure that the next round it would already start getting mixed up, because I am increasing at every corner. And I was quite surprised that I got a 3rd round with the same colors on top of each other. And then the last round, it started moving around again. Now I have a tiny little bit left that I can crochet into here. And I've decided that for the next ball of yarn, I am going to use one of the Abo yarns, of the subscription yarns that came in the last box. And it's this one. I think it's a beautiful colorway, and it sort of has all the colors that are already in the square. And so this was a slightly darker ball of yarn, even though it did have some white in between. But I think it'll be quite nice to have a very light and colorful edge part following now. And I'm not quite sure whether it's going to be big enough after this ball, so I might add some more after this. I don't know yet. I have to start with that first. Yeah, so that was everything that I knit and crocheted last week. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!